Please stand clear of the doors. Por favor, manténganse alejado de las puertas.
For those of you who have joined us at the Polynesian Village Resort Hotel, aloha, and welcome aboard the Walt Disney World local monorail system. During the trip, we request that everyone please remain seated and that there please be no eating, drinking, or smoking. Thank you. Our next stop is the Magic Kingdom.
Hey everybody, thanks for joining us. I'm Tim Scott. This is ResortLoop.com, the gateway to the magic. Joined today by good friend of the show, supporter of the show, Mr. Victor Naraki. Victor, how are you doing?
Great. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Things in Florida, are they picking up? How's your temperatures down there?
You know what? I got to be honest with you. I've lived here for 10 years. I don't pay any attention to the temperature. I figure it's warm.
Yes.
I'm dressed in a Hawaiian shirt every single day. The only time it bothers me is when people say, "Aren't you hot?"
Oh, right. Hey, you don't have to shovel sunshine.
Of course, yes, I know I am. Thank you for noticing.
I was born this way. Thank you very much.
Yes, I can't take credit for it.
Right. Oh my gosh. But as we've always said before, you don't have to shovel sunshine.
Yes, it is absolute. It's sometimes, yes, it does get a little warm when you get into your car and it's been sitting out in the parking lot for an hour, and that I find annoying. But and I always leave my car parked in the garage here. I'm always surprised that people will leave their cars outside all day long. I'm like, I would never leave my car outside, because I left today at 2:00 to go shopping, and if my car was sitting outside, it would have been baked.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I've heard that's horrible for like the dash and the rear deck of the cars also.
Well, yeah, but that was
besides the temperatures.
It's too much. I think it's too much on a car, but a lot of these houses, we don't have a lot of storage space, so people use the garages for storage, and I would never do that.
Oh, that's right. No basements.
Yep. No basements, no attics.
Wow. All right.
But Florida, so forget the rest.
Exactly. You have palm trees and beaches.
I know. I'm getting my first palm. Oh, I'm just right. I'm getting my first palm tree this week.
That's exciting.
I know. It's very exciting.
So when you buy a new palm tree, like how high are they? How tall do you get them?
I think that one looks like it's almost 8 feet.
Get out.
It's pretty big. Yeah.
It's like buying a baby giraffe.
Yeah, it is. Speaking of baby giraffe, I was just at Animal Kingdom for 3 days, and it was really great. Ask not until for the next couple of months. Ask not to be on the Jamba side, because the Jamba side gets neglected. They didn't have enough staff over there, and it was wonderful. Mm-hmm. There was some pleasantries about being there all by yourself, because there were no crowds. But on the other hand, there was no stores open. So take the good with the bad.
Oh, because Jumbo House is still a little barren.
Any minute spent at Disney is better than a minute spent anywhere else. So
that should be on a T-shirt. Well, Victor, let's get into the show, because we thought this would be a good time to talk about. Because actually, this is something my wife and I have been actually talking about recently, just kind of in passing, because we still have a couple kids in college we got to get through there, or one in college we got to get through. But buying a house to use as a short-term rental for an income.
Yes.
Now, this is something you've dealt with. What are some tips or things people need to consider when they're maybe considering doing this?
Well, one thing, just to tell you my background.
Yes.
I did it the way you shouldn't do it, because this was before I got into real estate. It's actually what got me into real estate, was that I bought a short-term rental, and I didn't do all the things that I'm going to talk to you about that I should have done. And if I had, some I did, but there weren't things that I overlooked, didn't know about, wasn't familiar with. And I think it's very important that you go in there informed beforehand. And what's great now is, this is 12 years later, the internet has taken over real estate. When I was starting, really, there wasn't a lot of websites to do short-term rentals. Now there's tons of them. There's some that are very good, and it wasn't so easy as easy as it is now to research homes. So when I got into it was 12 years ago, and I had wanted to get an investment property, but I really wanted to get an investment property that I could use myself and come down 2 to 3 weeks out of the year, live in the home, and at the same time putter around fixing it up, and then, rent it out the rest of the time.
Yeah.
So it would pay off its mortgage, which it did for 5 years. So sometimes you can't, because if you don't know what you're doing, you can't get those incomes. I got a realtor online, and she took me to 2 houses. Now, I told her I wanted a resale, a foreclosure, because foreclosures were big then. So I said I wanted a 2-story foreclosure with a nice view. She sent me to 1-story, no view, new construction.
Oh, all right.
And she showed me 2 homes, literally folded her arms and said, "Which one do you want?" And I was like, "Well, neither. I'm going to have to think about it. I got to think this over." And it was high pressure. The second home she took me to, I said it was new construction as well. And I said, "Well, this doesn't have a pool. I thought all short-term rentals needed pools." And the guy said, the salesman on site said, "This isn't a short-term rental." And she looks at me and she goes, "Why do you want to go into that?"
She just wanted to sell you a house. She didn't care what your plans were.
Yeah. And, at that time, New construction was paying a commission that was exorbitant.
Okay.
And that's what she wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And what she got was zero.
Great.
She got nothing from me. And me and my sister, over the next 2 years, bought and sold 5 homes. So she could have gotten all those sales if she was honest with me.
Right.
If she knew the territory, if she cared. But she didn't. And that was, I sort of put that in the back of my mind. And the second realtor that called me after I had given, the second realtor called me and she goes, "I got your name through online." And I said, "Yeah, but I decided not to buy. I can't find any foreclosures. The prices just seem to be too high." And she goes, "Victor, I'm looking at 40 foreclosures right now in front of me." That was right. When there was. And she had told me the first agent said to me when I said to her, I thought I would, there'd be a foreclosure. And she goes, "Oh, Victor, this is Davenport." And I went, when I got my license and went online and checked it all out, 40% of the sales that year were foreclosures. And I've got to tell you, people would say to me, "Oh, you're taking advantage of other people who lost their homes." And I say, yes, they did lose their second homes. They weren't primary residents. They were second homes. They were investment properties. And the thing is about that is also, if you don't buy them, a hedge fund will. Mm-hmm. So that's what I say is, because when hedge funds get involved, the prices start soaring. And those are the people, that's when people get taken advantage of. A long story with that. But anyway, so when I got my first home that I purchased, and I sold it 5 years later because it was just taking up too much of my time, and I'm very micromanaged, unfortunately. And also my father was sick, so I figured,
oh, there you go.
We needed to be more liquid at that time, mm-hmm, to have our money, available to us. So I didn't know all the communities that were out there and what they offered. So in our last conversation that we had, I talked about the features that are necessary to have in a short-term rental.
Correct.
I think you have to, there's other things that you need to know about the area. For example, if you're going to be allowed to have short-term rental, it has to be allowed by the town and then by the community. So it has to be allowed in Kissimmee, and then that individual community has to allow people to rent your property for less than a lease. Because other communities like Winter Garden and Windermere, you have to have a lease of at least a year. Sometimes they'll allow 7 months, but you have to be a long-term, rental. So it cannot be short-term. So one thing is, so you have to make sure that it's zoned for short-term rental. And one of the things is I always tell people is you're going to get the homeowners association documents. Never take anybody's word for it, because there are some communities that have decided, well, we're not going to let any of the new owners rent short term. Mm-hmm. So if you buy, you can't do it. You have to be grandfathered in.
Okay.
So always get it in writing, and you'll get that on the HOA docs. There's homeowners association documents. Have them point to it. I circle it and send it to my customers because I want to make sure that it's correct. Mm-hmm. Because that could be a real problem. And I have had other realtors tell me that certain communities stopped allowing for short-term rental, and then they sold it to somebody who can't rent it out.
Now, Victor, when you say short-term rental, how long are you talking? Like, what's the date range for a short-term rental? Like, what would be the cutoff between short and long?
A short-term rental is anything from 1 day to 30 days.
Okay, great. It
has to be under 30 days. Now, there are some people who are snowbirds, for mm-hmm. example, mm-hmm. and they come down here for the winter. Usually what people do is they say, the owners do is they'll say, well, you'll rent for 30 days, and then the spouse will rent for 30 days, and the other spouse rents for 30 days, and they go switch back and forth, because you're not allowed to do it for more than 30 days.
Oh, okay, so it's kind of a little way to
be a very, very informed owner. Also, it would affect if they're insured, if the person is over 30 days. So they do it 30, and then there's some insurance companies that don't allow you to rent for less than 7 days.
Oh, okay.
So you got to be careful that you're getting a short-term rental policy, because if you're not, and the person rents for 2 days and they break their leg, you're out of luck. I'm not trying to scare people.
No. People need to be aware.
I'm just trying to inform them of the things that I learned along the way that nobody told me.
Right.
So I really say the one thing is you got to know the territory. And as I said in the previous interview that we did, the homes, you really need to be as close to Disney as possible. I mean, that should go without saying, mm-hmm. but I've seen people buy homes because they're beautiful homes and they're, 30 minutes, 40 minutes away from Disney. Well, the number one question you're going to get when you buy is, how far are you away from Disney?
Right. Yes.
That's number one question you're going to get. And if you lie and you say, oh, it's 25 minutes, and it turns out to be an hour because
right.
of traffic,
yes,
that's going to end up in every review, and you're never going to rent again.
Yeah, if you say 30 to 40 minutes, you're giving them the optimal time of no traffic, no accidents, and all that kind of thing.
Well, I hate to bring this up, but this was a bad experience I had with a buyer who wanted to buy in Haines City. Mm-hmm. And the home was gorgeous. One of the most beautiful homes I've ever seen to sell at that price. And I said, but you're not going to be able to rent it short term. And I don't think you're listening to me. And he said, Victor, we're done here.
Oh.
And we shook hands and I walked away. He bought it with someone else and he never rented that house out.
Wow.
He never got one guest.
Mm-hmm.
Because who would rent it?
Right.
Who would rent it? Who would go 45 minutes to Disney? Now, it was near some good golf if you market it to golf people, but okay. There's not that many golf people that want to take 5-6 rooms. So anyway, one of the things now, when you're looking for a rental property, you really want a successful rental property. You want someone who maybe has been successful, who knows what they're doing, because you can piggyback on their success and maybe make it even better by filling in the blanks of maybe making rooms nicer, doing things to be more impressive. But what also happens is people come down to look at properties, and the properties are booked. Well, that's what you want. You want a home that's booked.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
And they have a guest in there for a week. So you're coming down to buy the property. They're still renting it because the sellers want their cake and eat it too. and you can't get in to see it. So it's really a catch-22. A good home should not be available for you to see. So come and make sure you come during the slow seasons. Now, another thing I always say is sometimes there's 2 or 3 homes that are available that are the same model in the same community.
Okay.
So you could go look at those and, then go and say, okay, when you can get in there. So I've had customers tell me, we really like this model. If you could go in and see it and it looks good, I'll buy it, but they're not in town. I've had that, and I've gone in and live streamed for them.
Okay.
And they've ended up loving it without seeing the exact one.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want to see a home that's being rented out short term, you want it to be booked. Like I had a condo recently that was booked, and it was a short term rental, and they knew exactly where they wanted to be, but we couldn't get in to see that one condo.
Mm-hmm.
And so when the guests left, I ran in there. I did a quick video. They liked it. They put in an offer. They got it. Sold. But they had never seen it. In fact, this week they were just seeing it for the first time. They'd never seen it at all. But they had seen other units in the same building.
Right.
And they liked the building.
Well,
and they liked the view because I showed it to them. So it was perfect for them.
And if they have somebody like you that they trust, and they're happy with you going in, giving them the okay and showing them the thing, that's a fantastic service you can provide.
Yeah, well, and so sometimes in that case, you always have to take a leap of faith.
Mm-hmm. True.
Is it if it's, the community, you are able to see the view online, then you have to go, well, is it something that's easily cleaned, or is it so disturbed inside and used? But I always say, a dirty house is easily fixed, but it turns off a lot of buyers. So you're going to save money if that seller hasn't, come in to do some cleaning.
Right. And we always say paint is cheap. Painting is cheap.
Right. Yeah, paint is relatively inexpensive. I don't mind dirty houses because they could be easily cleened.
A great resource if you're considering buying a house is reading the reviews that people have left for this house.
Exactly. And one problem with reviews left for the house is that they don't carry over with the new owner.
Okay, I can see that. Yes.
Unless it's kept, keep the same booking agent.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so they don't carry over, which is disappointing. There's really 2 major places that people rent, and that's VRBO.com,
mm-hmm.
Vacation Rentals by Owner, and Airbnb.com. Both of them are excellent, and both of them have changed enough with the times to really meet customers' needs. So the third thing that I talk about is that you could always ask for the booking history of the property.
Okay.
Just ask them to see what, if they don't show it to you, then they're probably trying to hide something. But there could be reasons why they don't have a good booking history. They could have not been very involved with it. They could have had a lousy listing. So look up their listing and see if they put good pictures and things like that. You never know. It could be something as simple as a bad picture.
Right.
I always say also you should get an area that you like as well, because if you like staying there, it's kind of hard for a waitress to sell something on the menu that makes her nauseous.
Right. Yes.
So I got to say, yeah, I love it. It's delicious. I order it every time I come here myself. Yeah, it's the best. That's what you want. You want something that you can really appreciate. That's why it's great to have something like I was going to do, where I would come for a couple of weeks and, use the house while I was going to Disney World.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things I always say is, and this is one thing that I did do when I was buying my rental property, is I went through all the competition, and I kind of looked at, which ones were doing very well
mm-hmm.
and booked very well, and which ones weren't. And I kind of brought it down to the fact that they had lousy photographs.
Really? That's the decision maker there. That's fantastic. I mean, that's a great tip.
Because they just did the photos themselves.
Mm-hmm.
They thought it didn't matter. I remember one house that had 2 rooms, and they were not decorated, and they said second room just like this.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, no, it was very boring. And the thing is, if you want people to, if it's simple marketing, if you want people to come and, choose your place,
mm-hmm.
you've got to have something that they can't get at the other places. Otherwise, they are going to only look at price. And I got to tell you, you don't want the people who are buying based on it being cheap.
Gotcha. I can see that.
Because they do not know. I'm just going to, and this may sound a little, generalizing on people, which people don't like to do, but they don't know how to treat things.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And I think those people also resent the fact that they had to pay in the first place.
Yeah.
Because any time that I took that booking, that I worked on the price with them, anytime I did that, I had a bad experience with that guest.
Wow.
I mean, remember one guy who broke a chair, pulled a tapestry off the wall, and then was trying to tell me that he wants to stay an extra day, and he's only going to and he's going to pay me $100 to do it because, hey, the house is open. Well, you know what? I was scheduling things to be done in the house.
Right.
I needed him out. It doesn't matter if the house is open.
Exactly.
And the first customer I ever threw out of my house, and he was someone who wanted a budget. If you have the best place, you don't have to feel you have to do that.
Right. Because
if you have a good house,
because people are
very desirable.
Yeah, people are willing to pay for quality and a good vacation home.
Mm-hmm.
I get that.
Because they're saving so much money in the beginning
mm-hmm.
with. So, but they really want a good home.
Mm-hmm.
They want something that feels very clean. So but it's also, as I'm going to say again, it all comes down to the photographs.
Wow.
My sister, and I learned this because my sister and I had a house that I wasn't happy with the way it was booking. And I said, well, the photos are nice, but they could be better. So I hired a professional photographer.
Uh-huh.
It was like $150, real estate photographer.
There you go.
The day those pictures went up, it was like a new house.
Wow.
We started booking like crazy, and we were booked 45 weeks out of the year minimum, which is very good.
Yeah.
So I always say the photographs, people view the photographs first before they start reading the details. So you have to hire a professional photographer who understands real estate.
I will say, I know from watching all those shows on HGTV.
I will tell you, I'm sorry, what?
I was just going to say, I know from watching those shows on HGTV, they always talk about, stage your rooms for, when people come in to look or people take pictures.
Yeah, but if you have for a vacation rental, it better be staged because it's all going to have the furniture in there. But When I say but the reverse is true, I feel, when you're buying a home. I love lousy pictures when you're buying a home.
Oh, okay.
I love them because they're going to save you a fortune. Because people are going to pass by that house and go, oh, like I've had customers tell me, oh, I don't want to see that house. It looked so dark and dingy. I said, that's just the picture.
Mm-hmm.
That's a beautiful community. It's got a pool. It's got lots of windows. It's just that they got all the blinds pulled, and and probably was a rainy day when they took them. When you're selling your own home, if your agent doesn't come with a professional photographer, get a new agent, because that is something that is so imperative. If you have a quality home, if you have a dirty, filthy home, show a nice picture of the front of the house, and that's it.
Well, that's a fantastic tip.
Also, you have to be on the good websites, the VRBO and the Airbnb. But I will tell you that when you list your property, all of a sudden, you get a call every day almost from a rental group that says, we're number one in Google.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Yeah, we're number one in Google for best short-term rental on this block.
Mm-hmm.
Stuff that people really don't search.
Right.
The two places you have to be are HomeAway.com, which is also VRBO.com, and Airbnb.com. Those are the ones that you have to be on. And you may have to hire a property manager, which we'll talk about next. But also the other thing I got to tell you is when you come to town to buy a short-term rent, don't come to look at one place. I see people do now. I would tell people, do not come for just one home, because it'll be sold by the time you get here, because things are selling now within 7 days.
Gotcha. Wow.
They used to be, the average would be 30 days to 45 days.
Mm-hmm.
But now people are buying things sight unseen.
Wow.
They're buying, so I would say if you're coming to town for a short-term rental, come off season, which is May and September, and try to be here long enough so that you can get in between a booking.
Mm-hmm.
But there was, I was recently in a community and, the houses were all, I wish my customer had pulled the trigger on this one. But we went to the exact same model down the street. And, he liked it, but he wanted to see the other one.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't available because it was booked. Well, he didn't pull the trigger. He wanted to wait until the guests got out. Someone else pulled the trigger and bought it while we were waiting to see it.
Gotcha.
And I understand you got to see a property, but there wasn't any big surprises in that home. And if there were, we could have backed out because I could have written that in the contract, that the customer's preview of the property is contingent upon continuing this contract.
Yes.
Boom. Also, one of the last points I want to talk about is that you have to hire a property manager.
Oh, I was going to ask you about this. Yes. Because if I'm up here in Ohio and I own property down there, someone's got to take care of this for me.
Absolutely. And what their responsibilities will include is sometimes taking the bookings. Okay. Now, with me, I used to take the bookings all myself. So you want an agent that if they don't take a booking, you could give them the booking and they're not going to charge you for it. So say you take a booking for $2,000 for the week. Some will take out $200 as their commission.
Okay.
So I don't particularly like that.
Mm-hmm.
I like the ones that say, yeah, if you take a booking, it's your money. That's what I like.
Mm-hmm.
They will also be responsible for making sure that after the guest leaves, that the house is cleaned. and ready for the next guest.
Okay.
And also oversee anything that's going on during the person's stay, during, your guest's stay there. And they'll also, and also make sure any of the supplies are kept up as well. So, but the big thing is, I think, is if they could take bookings and they get good prices, that's gold.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But usually they take a percentage. And if they take their own bookings, they will take a percentage for booking it, which of course is natural. So,
okay.
But I used to do so well that I would get all my own bookings.
Okay.
And now, and I have seen some buyers, the owners of properties, think that they could just, book the cleaning crew themselves and save the $125, $150 a month it takes to retain a property manager. And that's very foolish, because they're not going to be there if there's an issue.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Because sometimes the door locks don't work or something like that. So it's very important to have that you have someone there to handle emergencies.
Mm-hmm. So if you have a real estate manager and you have guests staying there and say something like the hot water here goes out, do they call you, or does the call go straight to the management company?
Straight to the management company.
So you don't have to worry about it. They get the information.
Yeah.
They take care of it.
Yeah. Now sometimes they'll call me
Mm-hmm.
because they know me and I booked them. But I will I always refer them to the property manager. Thank goodness that never happened.
Right.
With the water heater, but those things can happen. And I think one of the things, the responsibility of a renter is to just understand that things do happen. This is a house.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there could be something that's broken, and we can't, if someone doesn't report it to us, we really don't know.
I got to believe that once you have a good renter who maybe was there for a week, 30 days, that they're looking to book again with you the next year.
Absolutely. Yeah. I had a lot of repeat people.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And, and I still refer them to the new owners of the house. Now, here's what I say is, when you buy these houses, a lot of times now they're sold fully furnished. So you may have a person that owned the property, and probably they didn't put that much enthusiasm into it.
Mm-hmm.
When the property manager told them they needed new photography, they said, no, the old photographs are fine. My daughter took them,
Right.
And so they didn't put the enthusiasm in it. So one of the things is, I feel that, you've got a house that is fully furnished. Don't go with that. Make it better. I always say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But if it is broke, like if it needs a paint job, well, don't paint it the same color. Spice it up a little bit.
There you go.
Make it look good in the pictures. So like I used to have in my houses, each room was painted a different color. Now, when people are scrolling through the pictures, if every room is white, they're going to think everything is in the same room.
Right.
So what I would do is make each room different colors. Now, I used to name the rooms. I would have the Dalmatian room. I would have the Western room. I had a Mary Poppins room.
Oh, and that makes it fun.
Cape May room. I had, 4 different colored rooms. People wouldn't call them that. They would say, oh, my sister's staying in the yellow room. We're staying in the green room. And my kids are staying in the blue room, and so it makes it very easy to differentiate the rooms.
Yeah.
When you put the color choices. So I always say, you're going to get a house that is fully furnished. Now you can make it even better and correct anything that was wrong. Now, for example, I thought my house was fantastic. It did very well. But it did even better when the new owners took over because they took my Western theme room and they made it into a frozen room.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
And it's gorgeous. I miss my Western room. It was really cute, but the new room is just gorgeous.
Wow. You can't argue with it though if it works.
So they took my sister's Space Center room and they made it into a Star Wars room.
Oh, yeah.
So it's really, it's just a matter of, just don't buy the house and say, oh, it's all decorated, I'm just going to do the same thing that other people did. No, don't do that. Do it a little better. They
next leveled it.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, like, if you're replacing a dishwasher, might as well replace. You're going to spend, if you're spending $300, spend the $400 and get the one that's silent. That'll be appreciated by the guests.
Yeah.
If you're buying, one of the things that we talked about in the other one is how surprised I was that game rooms would be in the garage. That was one of the big things that surprised me.
Right.
But if you're buying something for the garage, you could, just buy something a little bit better, maybe a little unique. I had a lot of very unique things in the house, and speaking of things I had in the house, I had an $80 Snow White snow globe in one of the bedrooms. It was still there 5 years later. Someone could have easily put it in their purse, walked away with it, and nobody did because they respected the home. They treated the home with respect, and I thought that was really, really great. This like, how many, I had the whole house for a total of 5 years. So, but yeah, I had a Dalmatian room. And the one thing about the Dalmatian room was it photographed very well. So.
Yeah, like you said, people are looking online for these homes and anything that stands out, they're going to remember and want a book.
You know what I found just by luck and looking at a lot of homes was tapestries photographed very, very well.
Oh, interesting.
So I always had tapestries all over the house. I never hung any framed art with glass because it would just reflect the light off of it. So, but the tapestries would be cheaper than framed art, and they would photograph beautifully, and I could even get them used on eBay. So I had a lot of those in the houses, all over the place.
That is outstanding.
Yeah, I mean, it's just my little secret. I mean, because I certainly don't want a big piece of framed art falling off the wall when someone hits it with a frisbee. So so I always used to have and spending a little bit more time hunting through stores to get something that's unique. So I had some big cabin beds, with big, thick, round posts.
Oh, yeah.
Beautiful that we got from American Signature. They had a clearance. I just grabbed every one of them and put them in all the houses. And so that was really nice. I mean, that was a really nice I wish I still had those beds. They were adorable.
So Victor, let me ask you this. So I'm going to do this. At what point do I contact you to help me out with this?
Right now.
Right now, before I do pre-approval, I just want to contact you and find out the steps.
The thing. Why is it? You don't need to be pre-approved to look at houses online.
Okay.
So why not look now? Now, the thing is, the reason you would want pre-approval is to make sure you're not looking at stuff that's going to be over your budget. So you can't really go to a lender and say, I'm buying a short-term rental and the rent's going to pay itself off. They're not going to listen to that.
Right.
They're going to say, well, you got to make sure you have the money somewhere to be able to pay for this if nobody books this house.
Right. They're not talking about income potential. They want to know what your income is
They
now.
want to know that because unless you had a lease already from someone who's currently staying long term.
Gotcha.
That would mean you because you're going to be getting this as an investment property. Now, there are people who say we're using it as a second home. And I would never advise anybody to do this.
Mm-hmm.
But there are people who buy them as second homes and then down the road decide to use it as a short-term rental. Okay, it's not ethical, but I've heard of people doing that. So, but you should. I agree with you that you should get pre-approved first to find out what your budget is.
Right.
But it doesn't hurt to look.
Okay.
It's free to look. So I always say, just look, look around. But when you contact me, I will say, yeah, we're not going out until you've got your pre-approval.
Gotcha.
I always tell people I'm blue in the face. But if you have to, without a pre-approval, but if I have to get into my car, you got to show me the money.
There you go.
I'm not gonna waste my day driving around so that you can fantasize about owning a property down here. And the reason being is I've been burnt with that.
Yeah.
Where I spent 3 days with someone because I was new and, believed in people. So, that's why they have open houses.
Mm-hmm.
Open houses are wonderful. They rarely sell a house, but they do let you see the area and get in the community without any obligation or without having to, get a realtor behind you. So I always say people should, I might lose a customer, but open houses are your friend. Just go to some open houses when you're, buying, if you're thinking of buying a short-term rental.
Yeah.
Or if short-term rentals are not always available, so that they could, have a showing. And a lot of these communities are gated. The good ones are gated. That's one of the things that we mentioned in the other interview.
Yes, we did.
Was that gated communities are very sought after, especially by the people traveling from like European countries. If you're not familiar with the area, they think a gate is really going to do it for them. So that's one of the things that I really think is. But so if you're looking at a house and the community is gated, you're not getting in. Because I usually have to show my ID and my real estate license.
Gotcha.
To get my guests in.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely be ready by having your loan approved. But beforehand, you can look. It's free to look. The thing is, if you want to talk to someone like me before you really start looking, because you may be looking at something that I, with my knowledge of the area, will say to you, you're not going to book that for short-term rental. Or you're going to get a lousy review when people drive into that community. Because there's a lot of communities that are just too far away from Disney.
Right.
That are shabby and falling apart. So the house looks nice, but the community looks terrible. And as I'm saying this, I'm thinking of the individual ones. And also I know what features people are looking for. So I would direct you to the communities that have the features that people are looking for.
Well, Victor, I got to be honest. If I wouldn't find somebody like you, I'd find you. So just so you know, I'm not looking for anybody else. I'm going to look for Victor.
Well, there is nobody like me.
That's what I'm saying. Hawaiian shirts and all.
The thing is, that's why I always say, that's why it's important for realtors to specialize in an area. If you would ask, I can sell in Daytona Beach, but I don't know a darn thing about it.
Mm-hmm.
So, you want to get somebody who's, who has sold in that area before and done it, enough times that you learn from all your experiences. It's like I've sold in Celebration, sold in Winter Garden. I've sold in Claremont. I've sold in Windermere. Sold in Davenport, Kissimmee. I've been selling in Winter Garden, for quite a while. But I would like to talk. There is there's one community in Winter Garden that does allow short-term rental, and we didn't talk about this. This is a condo hotel. Now, what's interesting about this building and its units is that they are offering now that when you buy the certain number of customers, they will guarantee you a 10% return on your investment for the first year.
Wow.
They handle all the bookings. They handle all the cleanings. They handle everything after you've bought the house, after you've bought the unit. It's beautiful. I think there's 3 different buildings. They're 5 stories tall. Some of the units overlook the fireworks. They're closer to Disney. I hate to say this, but they're closer to Disney than I am. And I'm really close. But beautiful, beautiful community. So renters could rent a 2 or 3 bedroom unit. I wish I could give you the price of how much it is to rent right now. But so if you want information on this, contact me through my website, disneyatyourdoorstep.com. And also like all my social media pages there. But so if you really say, if when I've been telling you, oh, you have to do this and you have to put this type of thing and you have to do this and you have to do this, and you're going, oh God, I don't want to do all that. That's when you get a condo hotel.
Okay.
Because everything is handled in your homeowners association fees. They handle all of the maintenance of the home. If the furniture gets ruined, they replace it. They paint when on schedule, and all you have to do is hopefully collect your funds at the end of the and when you want to use it, you just tell them, I'm using the unit.
That sounds perfect.
But I love those buildings because they're 5 stories. You can park inside. You park in this building on the level that your room is, and you just walk out, and you don't have to use an elevator.
Wow.
Into the building and walk out. And then the building itself, if you're lucky enough to get the right room, looks out over the fireworks. When I stayed there one night, I saw the fireworks at all 3 parks.
Wow. That's incredible.
Yeah. You got a kitchen. So they've got a kitchen. They've got a resort pool. I mean, the most amazing resort pool. They have a lake where you can rent a boat and you can go out paddle boating on a lake. It's amazing. It's amazing community, and it's 5 minutes to Disney.
Wow.
And that is an amazing community. Other short-term rental communities, I have a list of ones that when people ask me, for short-term rental that I use, I usually go with the ones that are gated first, because I just think they're much more desirable, for renters. I know you're going to get bigger bang for your buck. In fact, I will tell you, I said earlier that I only had the properties for 5 years. If I had known what I know now when I had bought, and if my realtor had known it, I would still have those properties now, because I would be making I'd probably be clearing, let's just say, a good amount of money.
Okay.
More than it was with the other ones, because I wasn't, to have all that money out there and not be making a good profit. Now I know what people are looking for, and I didn't have, and I could have charged double.
There.
And they
Oh,
would
wow.
have been grateful for paying $2,000 instead of $1,000.
Wow.
But I didn't know.
Right.
I didn't know that people liked gated communities. I didn't know that you could buy a property that was fully furnished. I had no idea.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
I thought there were I was, and back then in 2008, you could get a fully furnished foreclosure. That's amazing. And it was fully furnished, just set like the Tower of Terror, where everybody left all of a sudden,
Right. Boom, they're gone.
My sister bought one, and the table was all set. Dishes were out,
right.
Everything.
Oh my gosh.
And you could still do that, today. But, I didn't realize that you needed to have something you needed to be gated. You needed to have some features in the community. You need to be 10 minutes away from Disney. I was probably 25 minutes away.
Yep. Location.
At all these, but I still booked for 48 weeks out of the year.
Nice.
45 to 40.
Yeah.
My sister's booked. Yeah. Around that time. No.
Right. Hey, Victor, we need to wrap it up soon. Is there anything else you want to hit before we do it?
No.
Okay.
Go to my website, DisneyAtYourDoorstep.com, for all my links, and you can see my blogs there. You
Yes.
probably see I'll put up an article about buying a short-term rentals soon.
Yeah, and we'll link to that in the show also.
Great. And next time we'll talk about buying new construction.
Oh, that's a good one too. Victor, before we go, I just want to ask you about this real quick. I've been seeing on YouTube this live from Victor's Vista. Tell us about that real quick.
Oh, thank you.
This is awesome. Tell everybody about this, and I'll link to that also.
VictorsVista.com. Okay, we just fixed the website, by the way, because it wasn't working for a while. But I'd say about 4 times a week, I go live from my backyard to watch the fireworks.
I love it.
And I also do it side by side with someone who's live streaming the fireworks. So you could see the fireworks go off, what's going on. And then actually the one that's live from the park is behind me, which I don't understand. And mine is, I don't know why there's a delay, but I show the fireworks from my house because I live about 1.5 miles from the castle.
Mm-hmm. I saw the video and I'm like, this is fantastic. I got to share this.
Yeah, it's I'll if you're in town, I'll have you over and we'll have Mickey Premium bars and watch the fireworks.
I'm looking forward to that. We will do that at some point. I guarantee it.
Okay, great.
All right, Victor, once again, where can everybody find you?
DisneyAtYourDoorstep.com and VictorsVista.com.
I love it.
And that's where you could, Disney at Your Doorstep will have all my links if you like social media, whichever one you want in there.
Awesome. Everybody, I'm Tim Scott, Facebook, Twitter, the website, ResortLoop.com. Victor, thanks for joining us. You've been listening to The Gateway to the Magic. We'll see you, everybody. Vacation memories will stay with you and your family for a lifetime. The Resort Loop Travel Group was created with this in mind. Our fee-free services will relieve you of the stress and confusion of finding and booking the best vacation at the best price. After booking, we will continue to monitor for ways to save you even more on your vacation. We will check for any upcoming packages and discounts to save you as many vacation dollars as possible. Resort Loop Travel Group, gateway to your magical vacation memories. Get a quote, or for more information, visit ResortLoopTravelGroup.com.